Hi everyone, my name is Tamara, and this is the real 12th episode of the Caffeinated Craft Mamas podcast. I'm calling it the real 12th episode because last month's was actually the 11th episode, and I can't count. So, we all know from now on, this is the 12th episode. I hope you all are doing well. As I said, my name is Tamara, and this is my podcast all about my knitting and crocheting life in Southwest Missouri, where I live with my partner Richard, our 3 kids, and our dog. So we'll go ahead and get started. I have a lot to talk about. I have 4 finished objects, only 2 works in progress. I'm not sure what's going on right now. Several book recommendations, and a lot of life updates and things to talk about there too. So we'll go ahead and get started with admin stuff. If you would like to follow me on social media, please feel free to do so. I am mostly active on Instagram. I post there 2 to 3 times a week. I am caffeinated_craft_mama, and you can message me on there if you have any questions or anything about the podcast. I will probably try to get an email set up for the podcast sometime soon, but we'll see when that happens. Life's been very busy. So I'm drinking coffee today, just my leftover morning coffee with my new oat milk creamer that I really like. It's oat milk and it's oatmeal cookie flavored, which is funny because I'm not typically an oatmeal cookie kind of person, but I love this creamer. It's really yummy. Okay, as I said, we have 4 finished objects to talk about, and we'll just go ahead and jump right in. The first one I want to talk about is the test knit I was working on. This is the Mountain Song Pullover. It's a pattern by Megan over at Knit Curious. It's a test knit that I did for her. It's a circular yoke pullover with some fun cabling detail. I'm trying to get it on here. There we go. Maybe. There we go. Did I? No, okay. It's the right way. I thought I put it on backwards. I knit this out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Sport in the colorway Sprinkle Heather. So just this fun purple with just beautiful jewel tones in it. It is a 100% Peruvian highland wool. Now, this is my first 100% wool sweater ever in my life. And it's a little itchy. It's not like itchy to the point that I won't be able to wear the sweater, but it's definitely itchy to the point that I'm not just going to be throwing this on over a sports bra and a pair of leggings. Definitely at least a tank top under this one. So I really enjoyed this test knit. There were several things that I had done with this that I've never done before. I ended up needing to tighten up the neckline just a little bit. The neckline is so big, especially with the stretchy cast on, that she suggests that it almost could be an off-the-shoulder sweater. And while I love that some of the 80s styles are coming back, off the shoulder's not really my jam. So I did a crocheted, I don't really know what you would call it. One of the testers suggested it and said she did it with hers. So I went through and kind of crocheted around the collar to kind of tighten it up a little bit. But other than that, the pattern was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I'll post some pictures of myself. Richard and I went out and got some finished object photos that turned out really good. And it's going to be a very warm sweater. And I'm really, really hoping that the weather will be nice enough soon to where I can wear it, because I'm really tired of the hot weather. We talk about this every podcast, but I'm so over it. So hopefully soon. Soon. Okay, so yeah, that's this sweater. I'm really looking forward to it. Again, this is the Mountain Song Pullover by Megan over at Knit Curious. So you can go over there and follow her. I'll try to post when it is released. So it's my first test knit with her, and I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. Whoops, there goes my notes. Man, I'm just dropping everything today. Okay, here we go. Okay, my next finished object is one several of you have seen if you follow me on Instagram, and several of you will be so proud of me. I finished it. Abby's blanket. I'm not even gonna attempt to hold this whole thing up, but it's here, see? Look, I did it. It's all done. I'll post a picture of the one I posted on Instagram. This Afghan is based on a photo from Meghan Makes Do. It was her Madigan Mystery CAL. You can find it on her blog. And I just kind of took the basic construction of the blanket and did the colors on my own. She did hers with a more scrappy Afghan, which I thought was a cool idea, but I wanted this to be a little bit more cohesive. So that's what I did. I used True Value yarn from Joann's, and hopefully I will get to give this to her next month. We have several September birthdays in our family, and so we typically get together in September and just celebrate them all at once. So I'll see her then. And I'm gonna go ahead and probably get started on her wedding Afghan because she's getting married next spring, and maybe if I start it now, it will be done on time. I also have another cousin who started his junior year the other day, and he wants a Star Wars corner to corner Afghan, and so I told him I was going to go ahead and start his. I figure if he changes his mind between junior year and senior year what he wants, I can always just give the Afghan to William. So okay, next finished object is one I was surprised I finished. It is Richard's Sockhead hat. This is yarn by 398 Yarn Company in Branson. It's their black top colorway. It was part of their Route 66 colorway this year. Richard bought this for me when we went to Branson on a night away. And he did not want a slouchy hat. He wanted something that was more fitted. He didn't want a super long, like a fold over brim or anything. So it was just a simple little hat. Fits him well. He really likes it. I'm actually getting ready to start one of these for myself. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I can't decide between this and something else. So yeah, he's really excited about it, and I'm getting ready to start his next hat. He had a real tree hat that he absolutely loved. Wore it everywhere, which was funny because he's not super outdoorsy, but he loved this hat and he lost it. And so I have been trying to replace it. I have yet to find a hat pattern that's exactly like what he wants, but I'm thinking the Musselburgh hat that was super popular, that the Crazy Sock Lady, she knit several of them. I think that might be what he's wanting. So I'm gonna possibly be knitting one of those. And I actually just saw this morning on Instagram that Jen over at The Crafted Pearl and the girls over at We Share Needles podcast are actually hosting a knit along for that hat. So I think that was kind of the push I needed to buy the pattern and get started. The cast on makes me a little nervous because it's one I've never done before, but you know, we'll figure it out. Okay, last finished object was one I just squeaked in. They're still damp from being blocked. They are my first pair of Christmas socks. I didn't have this podcast last year, but this will be the second year in a row that I have bought sock yarn, Christmas sock yarn, and I have knit a pair of socks for my mom, my sister, my mom's best friend Holly, and myself. So we all have matching socks. And my sister, these are for her. She chose shorty socks this year. So this is just my typical 20 stitch toe to a 60 stitch foot, fish lips kiss heel. I did, I think 12 rows after the fish lips kiss heel, and then the 15 row cuff. So they'll be more like ankle socks, or no, the socks that cover your ankle. I'm not sure what those are called. I can never remember all that stuff. So this yarn is Hobie Yarn. I happened to get this on sale in like April, and I got 200 grams of it for like $10. It is a little scratchier than the indie dyed yarn that I've been spoiled and gotten used to. But I think it'll be okay. And I love the gold stellina in it. The red is just some, I believe, Cascade Heritage that I had in stash. I've got like 3 skeins of it in there. So I just popped that in there to help the 200 grams stretch a little bit more. So 1 pair down, 3 to go. And today is August 30th, and tomorrow, or maybe Wednesday, is the last day to enter for the Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits Christmas in July 5. And I've participated in that the last couple of years. I know she's got a couple prize packs that are all Christmas themed, and she also is giving away a couple of her patterns. If you've never knit one of her patterns, they are wonderful. I highly recommend them. So if you have anything that you knit in the last month and you finished, you might see about entering it into there. She's got all the information on her Instagram. Okay. I guess we'll do the sock next. Let me turn my page here. Okay. So I have named these socks Richard's Baby Yoda socks. And yes, I know that the character in The Mandalorian's name is Grogu, but I didn't know how to spell that, so I wrote down Baby Yoda. Richard has been wearing the hand knit socks that I made for him pretty much nonstop. They're about all he wears now. So I'm working on this pair for him. This is actually Patton's Croy in the colorway Turquoise Jacquard. And then this is just a black that I had in stash. That's Patton's Croy as well, I believe. That Patton's Croy all has that same, a little bit thicker texture than the normal sock yarn that I'm used to knitting. The white stitch marker is where I was last time, so go ahead and move that up. And then I've got my All About That Wingspan stitch marker from Emily over at Fangirl Fibers, I believe. Yes, Fangirl Fibers, not Fangirl Yarns. I follow 2 people that have close to the same name. I love these little wooden stitch markers that she has. And I got the Night Court set. So I'm getting ready to put the heel in this one and do the next one. These will be ankle socks again for him. He's gonna have quite the stash of stuff for Christmas this year, but he enjoys wearing them and it makes me happy to see him wearing them. And then this is my Halloween project bag because one could never have too much Halloween. I'm trying to think. Knit by Nature, I believe, but she has a different name on Instagram and I'll pop it in right here. The star fabric glows in the dark and I absolutely love this bag. So I've talked about it on here before, but if you're new, now you know. The last project that I have to talk about is just kind of just basic, honestly. It is a corner to corner blanket. I had a bunch of this green yarn in stash. I'm not even sure what I bought it for. It was 2 Karen 1 pound skeins of yarn, and I had used some of it, but not nearly the amount that was required for 2 of these. So I don't know if maybe I didn't realize I had some in stash and bought a new one. Either way, it worked out in my favor because I've got a friend who's having a baby. Oh goodness, end of September, so I've got to get moving. But this is actually just the Grandma's Favorite Dishcloth pattern by PJ Allen, and I am just increasing until I don't want to anymore, and then gonna do the 3 rows of plain and start decreasing. I'm not making this hard, I'm not making this difficult. This is my, I really can't think right now knitting, or I'm reading a book and can't pay attention to what I'm doing knitting. And I've really been enjoying it. I'm using my ChowGoo interchangeable set. These are my 9s, I think. Yeah, my 9s. I wanted it to be something that was going to be pretty warm. for baby, and I didn't want to do 2 strands of yarn, which is typically how I would do baby blankets, but I didn't feel like messing with that. So I have plenty of yarn. I'm on the first ball and I've not even made it halfway through, so it won't be much of an issue to work on that. So quite honestly, that's all the crafting I have to talk about. I always think that these episodes are going to take me like 20 years to record, and then I look and I've been talking for like 15 minutes. I don't know if I'm just a fast talker or what. I do have some future knits to talk about, one of which is actually changing from what I wrote down. And it is living in my Lila Styles Lord of the Rings bag that I love so much and you've seen 1,000 times. But you're going to continue to see it because I love it. And I was going to make a sockhead hat for myself, just like Richard's. But now that I've heard about that Musselburgh or Musselburgh, however you say it, knit along with Jen and the girls over at We Share Needles, I think I'm going to use my Undercover Otter yarn that I showed off last podcast, the Viren colorway. And I think I'm going to knit myself a Musselburgh hat out of this. Last year, my mom bought me this really nice coat, and it's like weatherproof on the outside and it's fur lined on the inside, and this matches it almost perfectly. So I'm hoping to get a really nice hat out of this. So it's just gonna live in this bag until I buy the pattern and figure out what I want to do. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry, I left my paper over there. Okay, next I want to talk about the giveaway. So here it is in its bag. I had a skein of Bad Wolf Girl Studios Silence in the Library with some stitch markers on it. This giveaway is not affiliated with Instagram or YouTube or Bad Wolf Girl Studios. This is just with me. So I just happen to have this in stash, and I love her yarn and wanted to share it. It's a 75-25, 462 yards for 100 grams. I knit a really pretty shawl out of this. I think I've shown it on here before. And then I did a skein of Mani Petty in the Yoga colorway. And then I threw in some tea and some soap. So, the winner of that is Teresa Young. So Teresa, if you could either leave me a comment down below with your email address and I will email you, or you can hop over to Instagram and send me an IM over there at caffeinated_craft_mama. I will wait until next episode, so that will give you 2 weeks, because I am planning on starting to record every 2 weeks again. If I have not heard from you by then, I'll go ahead and redraw. So that will be, today's August 30th, so like September 12th, around there. If I haven't heard from you by then, I'll go ahead and redraw. So thank you to everybody who entered. It was really fun to hear your favorite knitted thing that you have received. Everybody's answers were very different, but I really enjoyed hearing everything that they enjoyed receiving. Whew, I can't talk. I need a drink of coffee, I think. Okay. So let's talk about the reason. Oh, if you're just here for the crafting content, that's it. We're going to talk about books and life update, and then we will be done. So if you are here for the crafting and you're going to skedaddle, I hope you have a great couple of weeks, and I will see you soon. Bye. Okay. Where to start? Okay. I, as you know, have gotten back into reading. Well, I read or listened to several books in the last month. One, I've had this book in my Audible library for a long time. I got it when it was on sale and I just hadn't listened to it. It's by Sarah J. Maas. I don't know why I hadn't listened to it yet, but it was the Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. series, her new one that she just started. I loved it. It was a wonderful book. One thing that I was a little surprised about, which I shouldn't be, but was the amount of language. There was a lot of language in this book, which is fine, whatever. It just took me off guard when it was like every other word in some places, which that fits that character. So I wasn't, again, super surprised. But it was a really good book. I bawled in like 3 different places, which is surprising because I'm not a big crier, but man, she knows how to hit you in the heartstrings. Sarah J. Maas has made me cry in just about every one of her books. And I just really enjoyed it. I'm super looking forward to the next book, which I believe comes out in February. So I am already planning on getting a hold of my copy. Sarah does something with her books where certain bookstores get extra chapters in their books. So she's already posted that the next book coming out, Bryce and Hunt, which are 2 of the main characters in the book, their bonus chapter will be sold at Barnes & Noble. So can you guess where I will be in February? Barnes & Noble, because I really want to read that bonus chapter. That's one thing about the Court of Thorn and Roses book series that I am bummed that I missed out on, because I listened to them on Audible. I typically, that's how I do all my books. I have missed chapters in each book about some of the characters. So, and I mean, I can't just run around and be buying 7 copies of the same book. I just can't. So a lot of times, as much as I'm sure it irks Sarah, they eventually leak and you're able to read them on the internet. I try not to do that because I feel like a bad person. She does that on purpose to make money, but if I've bought the book, then I don't feel as bad. So I listened to that book, like I said, absolutely loved it, bawled like a baby. It was a good fantasy, kind of fantasy adventure book, but not her typical one. I really liked it. So, and I'm actually reading right now. I got a Kindle Paperwhite off of Amazon. I got one that was like certified refurbished, and I figured out how to send books from my Libby app, my library app, to my Kindle. That has changed my life. So I'm currently reading the 2nd book in the Throne of Glass series, which I'm really enjoying. It was funny because we were at Barnes & Noble the other day to get a gift for a friend, and a mom was standing there in the YA fantasy section, and she was looking at the 1st book of Throne of Glass, and she's like, I don't know if I want you to read this, talking to her daughter, and I was able to be like, okay, listen, this book series is awesome. You should definitely let her read it. Do not let her read anything else in this author's genre. I'm like, these are the only books she can read until she's 18 or older. Because the girl was like 13 years old. I was like, no, nothing else by this author except for these books. But the girl was able to buy the 1st book, so I was happy for her, and she gave me a big thumbs up. So hopefully she enjoys it as much as I did. Okay, what else have I been reading? Oh, I finished the Harbinger Series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I am just loving her as an author right now. I have purposefully not read the 3rd book in the Blood and Ash series, and I won't until closer to the release of the 4th book, which comes out in March. So, and I'm doing that on purpose because the last 2 books in that series left off on major cliffhangers, and I've read now the Harbinger series as well. Every one of those books ended in these major cliffhangers, and I know that there's a cliffhanger in the 3rd book, and I'm not sure if I can emotionally handle waiting until March to find out what happens. So anyway, the Harbinger series is a spin-off of another series that she had, and I really enjoyed it. It's just a 3-book series about a girl it has a very personal connection with Jennifer, in the sense that the main character has the same eye disease that Jennifer actually suffers from. And it was just really neat to read those books. Definitely older YA, more new age. I mean, there were steamy scenes. There always are in these kinds of books. It cracks me up that I'm now more of a paranormal romance reader. When I was 19, 18, heck, even younger than that, 16, I was reading like the cop books, murder mystery with 35-year-olds who, you know, have to rescue the damsel or whatever. It's just funny to me that now that those books that I read when I was a teenager are age appropriate for me, I'm reading the YA books that I should have been reading then. But anyway, I am also reading her Lux series, which is an alien book. Definitely not something I ever thought I would be reading, but I'm really enjoying it. So, you know what? I'm here for it. I'm gonna go with it, and I'm just loving getting my foot back in the reading world. So, yeah. The other book that I read is Escaping Houdini by Carrie Manzacalo. It's an Italian name. I'm sure I butchered it. I apologize. I've talked about this author before. I read her Stalking Jack the Ripper and her Dracula book. The third book in the series was really good. I finished it in like 3 days. She gave me a bit of a heart attack. Because the two main characters, there were a couple scenes in there where I was like, oh no, something really bad is going to happen. They can't, not to these two. I love these characters. And I actually have the fourth book upstairs from the library already, so I will probably be reading it pretty soon. So yeah, I have just been soaking up all the books, which is why I don't have anything more than 2 works in progress right now. I am getting ready to start some Christmas knitting. I've got some things that I want to get started, but I have just been enjoying reading so much that I've been doing it more than normal. So, yeah, so that's all my book recommendations for this episode. If you guys have any YA, new adult, fantasy books that you just absolutely love to read, I would love to hear what they are. Drop me a comment down below. I've made quite the list, and this isn't typically a genre that any of my friends that like to read. So I've just been going really off of like Instagram and stuff. So if you have any books that you would recommend, let me know, because I'd love to read them. Okay, last but not least, life and junk. The reason we are recording this podcast on a Monday morning is because my kids are at school. Everybody started school last week. Olivia started 6th grade, which was middle school. She's doing great. Absolutely loves it. She's in orchestra. She'll be learning the violin. Not an instrument that I've ever dealt with. I went to a school that was small enough that we didn't have string instruments. We only had woodwinds and brass and that kind of stuff. We were a marching band. So apparently the sun has decided to come out. So she is really enjoying that, absolutely loving her classes, and super excited for her to start orchestra. So we went and got her music book this weekend, and I'm excited to see her start to play. Jade started 4th grade and is really enjoying that. Her best friend is in her class, and she's actually in reg ed instead of, she was doing half sped, half reg ed, and she's pushing more into her regular education classroom. So I'm really proud of her and all of the progress that she made over the summer that is allowing her to be in the regular ed classroom more often. And then last but not least is probably the one everyone's been wondering about is William. William started half day preschool last Wednesday. Mommy was a hot mess. Poor Richard. I don't cry very often. I'm just not a crier. It's not my thing. I bawled like a baby when we dropped him off. I did okay. Like we sent him in. He did fine. He didn't cry, anything. And we got in the car and I was just, and he just was like patting me on the leg because I don't do that. They didn't quite know what to do with me. So we went and got coffee and came home, and we picked him up from school, and he did great. He did great on drop off Thursday and this morning. He absolutely loves it there. His teacher is wonderful, super sweet. And he is just loving it so far. So hopefully that continues and we will have some good progress. He picked up a couple new signs this week and has just really been doing well. So way harder on mommy than it was on him. But yeah, other than that, half marathon training is still going well. We're going to do 9 miles this weekend, which I'm a little concerned about, but that's my own fault. They ran 8 2 weeks ago and it was raining and I didn't go. So that's on me. I've run 9 miles before, so I know I can do it. It's more a matter of getting past that mental block, especially when I get to about mile 7. I'm not sure why, but mile 7 is always really hard for me. So hopefully once I get past that, the rest of the run will be a success. Let's see, is there anything else? I don't think so. So I will probably just end it here before I start rambling any more than I already am. I hope that you all are doing so well, and I'm so glad to be back. We will be going back to the every 2-week episodes, hopefully. Give me a little bit more motivation to get a few things done and work on my knitting and not just read all the time. So I will see you guys in about 2 weeks. Bye. Oh.